It's a cold morning in the hills of eastern Kentucky in the year 1900. Inside a small wooden cabin, a midwife leans over a newborn baby by candlelight, and she freezes. Because the baby is not pink. The baby is blue. Deep, vivid electric blue. Not bluish, not cold and pale. Blue like a clear summer sky. Blue like a blueberry. A healthy, crying, perfectly normal baby with skin the color of the ocean. And here's the part that should stop you cold. This baby was not alone. This family had been blue for generations. So today's question is one of the strangest in all of human history. Why did an entire family have blue skin? Was it a curse? A disease? A hoax? Or something written into their blood, hiding in a single missing molecule? To find out, we will need a lonely French orphan, a valley with no roads, a country doctor with a wild theory, and a bottle of bright blue liquid that changes everything. Let's open the file. The story starts around 1820. A French orphan named Martin Fugate boards a ship, crosses the ocean, and settles on the banks of a remote stream in Kentucky with a fitting name, Troublesome Creek. And according to the story, passed down for generations, Martin himself was blue. He marries a local woman named Elizabeth Smith, who has pale, milky skin. Neither of them has any idea they share a tiny, invisible secret buried deep in their genes. They have 7 children, and 4 of them are born bright blue. Not sick, not weak, just blue. It should have been a one-time accident, but the valley had other plans. Because Troublesome Creek was cut off from the world, steep mountains on every side, no roads, no railway. To find someone to marry, you did not travel far. You married a neighbor. And in that tiny valley, your neighbor was very often your cousin. So the rare blue trait, instead of fading away, got passed along and concentrated. Blue Fugates married blue relatives who had blue children of their own. Generation after generation, deeper into the hills, whole branches of the family tree turned the color of the sky. So what on earth makes a human being blue? First, let's kill the scary theories. It was not a curse. It was not dirty blood. It was not a punishment from God, no matter what frightened neighbors whispered. And it was contagious to precisely nobody. The truth is quieter and far stranger. The Fugates carried a rare, recessive gene. Their blood was missing a single enzyme with a very long name, cytochrome B5 reductase. And that one enzyme has one crucial job. It keeps your blood the right kind of red. Here is how your blood actually works. Your red blood cells carry a molecule called hemoglobin, which grabs oxygen and turns bright, glowing red. That red, shining up through your skin, is what gives you a healthy pink color. It is oxygen that paints you. But sometimes a little hemoglobin gets chemically stuck in a broken form. And that broken form is not red at all. It is dark, dull, and distinctly blue. Normally, that missing enzyme fixes it instantly, constantly, all day long. But in the Fugates, the enzyme was gone. So the blue simply stayed. So their blood really was genuinely a little bit blue. And with the pale, thin Appalachian skin of the mountains on top of it, that blue shone right through. They were not painted. They were not sick. Their oxygen was simply being carried by blood the color of twilight. And this is the beautiful, strange part. It was never dangerous. Methemoglobinemia, the proper name for their condition, does not make you sick when it is inherited this way. The Fugates lived long, healthy lives. Many of them reached their 80s and 90s, blue to the very end. The only real problem the blue people ever faced was not their health. It was other people, the stares, the whispers, the cruel names. Their blue skin never hurt their bodies. It only hurt their feelings. And that, in the end, is a story about us, not about them. Now fast forward to the 1960s. A country doctor named Madison Cawein hears the old legend of the blue people of Troublesome Creek. Most people dismissed it as a fairy tale. Cawein got in his car and drove deep into the hills to find them. And there, in a wooden cabin, he met them. Real, living, healthy, blue-skinned people, shy about their color, tired of being stared at. Cawein studied their blood, and he cracked the whole mystery. The missing enzyme. And then Cawein did something that sounds almost like a joke. He gave them a dose of a cheap, common, bright blue dye called methylene blue. Think about that. He treated the blue people with more blue. But it worked. Within minutes, the blue drained out of their skin. For the very first time in their entire lives, they looked into a mirror and saw pink skin looking back at them. The dye handed their blood the one tool it had always been missing, and the twilight turned to dawn. But here is the twist that turns this from a medical curiosity into something bigger. The Fugates were not unique, not even close. Blue-skinned people have popped up in isolated valleys all over the world. Alaska, Ireland, wherever a rare gene meets a small, close community. And that is the real lesson hiding in this story. The Fugates were blue for one reason above all: isolation. The very same isolation that hid them away from the rest of the world, the mountains and the missing roads, is exactly what made them blue in the first place. And then, in the 20th century, the world finally arrived. Roads were cut through the mountains. Cars came in. The young Fugates left the valley, met strangers, and married outside the family. And slowly, quietly, the blue began to fade from the bloodline. The last famously blue member of the family, a boy named Benjamin, was born in 1975, blue as a clear lake. But as he grew, his blue tint faded to almost nothing. He was, in a way, the last echo of a 200-year-old secret. And the Fugates were not even the only famous blue family. Across the ocean, in Ireland, there were stories of the blue men of Lugan, born with the very same twilight skin. Different country, different language, same rare gene, same isolated corner of the world. Biology does not care about borders. Think about what that really means. Somewhere in the enormous library of human DNA, there is an instruction that can turn your skin the color of the sky. It is switched off in almost everyone. It just needs 2 copies from 2 parents from one small and lonely place to switch back on. So the blue people were never monsters, never cursed, never a hoax. They were us, ordinary human beings, carrying one extraordinary secret in their blood, made visible only because a quiet valley kept them apart from the world for 100 years. Sometimes the strangest thing you will ever see is not a monster at all. It is just biology waiting patiently in the dark for the right gene to meet the right valley. Tomorrow's file is just as strange. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans slept on the bare, hard ground with no bed at all. And they may have slept better than you. Subscribe and find out tomorrow